So if you look at the strengths of this defense, it's designed for spread. We've talked about stack backers, we've talked about coverage disguise, we've talked about pressure. We've got it is an 8-man box, or excuse me, 8-man front, right? It's very flexible. So in my view, and this is just Coach Norris's view, the weaknesses are much the same, right? It's built for the spread. There's complex responsibilities for those 5 backers, right? They don't have a real answer for some of the true power run. I'm talking about double tight in the option game, probably because they don't see it a lot, right? Probably eat up your stretch outside zone or your mid zone, right? But the power to bring in extra hats is tough. The option game can be tough, and that comes to do they see it a lot? Now, if you have a team that runs this defense and plays a flex bone option team, that's a different story. And I think that's also important. Formation adjustment, I think, is a huge strength, right? We talk about the flexibility, but if I can get their guys to line up to a place that they're not used to or comfortable playing, I've already won before we even call a play. And it comes to, if we got a guy who's bumping out or playing in space or playing, closer to the line of scrimmage where he's not used to playing like that, that's really, really a position that you want to be in. If you get them to show you something that they haven't done, enough reps of in preparation. And, I frankly think this defense is very problematic because of the athletes. But if you don't have any war daddies, you're not going to be super physical. And you've got a lot of guys who, as a good friend of mine would call them, lettuce eaters. And so got more lettuce eaters on the field. So it's good to take advantage of that. There's also, some very, very, you talk about those second level, there's some shots available because of what they're asking those guys to do. So, we've got a lot of conflicts in the pass game as well. So, this defense gave me fits for years. Before we got our first win against the 3-3 stack, we had only scored like 12 points a game or something like that. So, I think it's important to understand it's an 8-man front. It's extremely flexible and aggressive. It's clever. Like they're gonna cover some things up. Again, I've talked about it being built for the spread, but what they're not, I think, is important. I talked about, athletes, at least in my experience, you give up some toughness and some power and the ability to impose will. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. It's not complicated, at least at the high school level, at least in my experience. And I've called about 20 games against it over the last 5 years. It's pretty simple. I think gap sound, when you start bringing in double tights, we're in a double tight, double wing formation. We got 10 gaps. They've got 8 gaps. So unless they're going to roll up, if they roll up, there's huge opportunities there. But I don't think it's necessarily all about plays all the time. And so if you just understand that, there's some things like unbalanced and, you want to get, real creative. You go unbalanced in a heavy package with 2 tight ends. Michigan-esque, I think, creates a lot of problems for the defense. But I think we overcomplicate it. It's become a craze, and so I know if you sat around and Googled it, you hear a lot of stuff about it, or sit through the defensive clinics, like how great it is to. But fundamentally, we've got to understand there's some things that we can do. So now I'm going to kind of get into plays before I go to the film, right? And so, this seam slant concept has been really good for us. You're really putting that weak safety right there. He's got to decide whether he rides the seam or sits on it. So it's an easy read for a quarterback. We're a very simple pass team. We run primarily air raid concepts. We only have about 7 or 8 total pass concepts, period. We rep the hell out of them, but like in practice, we'll just have the quarterback do his pre-snap read and then look as soon as he snaps the ball. It's more like option in the air versus progression read, but it's always wide side of the field. And this concept has been pretty good because of the space that it creates for the X. We didn't call it a ton, but it worked really well for us. Our stick concept is really, really, really good because same thing here. We got that flat defender, that weak safety, and he's got a pick in a cover 3. And I can talk a little bit later or on what do you do when the safety moves. I don't do anything different, right? So if they went to a 2-high shell, that doesn't change my play selection. What it's going to change is the way I prepare and practice for it. That I think is really, really important. But the mount we run, we don't see a lot of 2-high stuff because of the like the 65 to 70% run game. Like they'd rather get beat here. But this play is really good. It's one of, our quarterbacks have always loved it because you can't go wrong by throwing the swing to the R. And it's really hard just from a spacing standpoint for that to be a bad play. So I always say, if you don't love anything, go straight, get rid of it. I'm a 5-man protection guy. I can talk about that later. We only run 1 pass protection. We don't roll our quarterback out. We become really, really good at that 5-man protection over the last few years. I think we gave up 6 sacks in 11 games last year. So that's really important too. Now, if you're not going to make some adjustments to some of the stuff, but that stick concept is really good against every defense. And eventually they forget about your tight end. So really important. And we call those as shots. Our shallow cross is very good. It's problematic, especially, if you look at the Mike and the Will on that dig or that cross. This is the only play. I guess I should have probably checked the attendance list to see if any of the coaches I coach against are on here. But it's the only play we call on third and long. That's it. We don't have any other plays that we call on third and long. Our philosophy is this works all the time. And why is that? Well, one, it works against multiple coverages too, right? 2, it's our quarterback's favorite play, right? So every year in the off season, I work with my quarterbacks on, I don't want 100 plays. Now, will we tag this? Sure, we'll tag it. But when the quarterback comes to the huddle, he's calling shallow cross, and he might say shallow cross, X hitch, or L out. But this is the play that we're calling our L corner, right? So it's a really simple strategy, but it's about us being better at what we do and then you being prepared for it. And so this concept is really good. As we get to the film, you'll see it tagged. We call it Patriots, but we don't, we don't flip it. We don't do a lot of kind of more sophisticated things. We want our guys to be really comfortable with the play selection all the time. And so that, I'm an execution over scheme guy. And so we want to execute what we can at the best we can. So, all right. So let's, a little bit of a quick game. So this is 49ers. So we just talked about this. This receiver here is going to run a slant. Seam, we're in yellow or trips. He's going to run a pedal. Don't judge me. We're working on it there. He's running a 7-yard corner and he's running a swing. So we kind of get a smash concept on the backside. But if we watch what happens here, right here, you can see he's on him and he's on him. So we've already got somebody lost in this play. And this is exactly what we want this concept to do. It looks to be like some sort of cover 3. And boom, we hit the space and it's off and running. He does score on that. But if you look, like, this was a good play. I don't hate the pedal. I'd like the pedal to expand a little bit more, uh, but then we just let our guys do what they do. Okay, here's our stick concept. We call it RAM. So all of our pass plays are named after NFL teams, and so we're sticking, we're fade, stick, swing. He's going to go this way, and the tight end's going to find some space and sit, right? That's how we've matched that concept up, and that's okay, right? This flat defender here just decides to stay, and we get a really good look. Now we could have got out earlier, but this is a really good play for 1st and 10. We get 7 or 8 yards. Okay, so now the only difference is we're running our same stick concept, right? So fade, stick, pedal here. Okay, so if we watch this, I don't mind that, but we had easy completion, and the read for the quarterback is not where he went with the ball. So he looks, you can tell, never stays on it long enough. We do have some pressure coming. So we've got 2 guys, 3 guys, if you look at it. But it's been a really good play for us.